First of all, we have stand-up comedian David Savage. Everybody give a big round of applause. And then you already met him earlier. We have David Fitzgerald, everybody. We have Stefan, everybody. He's going to play music later on. He's absolutely brilliant. You will love it. And then just because I thought, you know what would really suck if you only had two Davids on the panel? That would suck so much. So we also have comedian filmmaker David Horgan. Can you change your name to David?
Sure.
All right, we have 5 Davids. So you guys left a bunch of questions. I'm actually so excited to get into this. This is probably the most we ever got. This is a leftover from Halloween, by the way. I know it's not very accurate, but we're just going to say this is the state of American foreign policy. Okay, so what we will do is I'm going to pick random questions out, and we're going to see what you guys want to ask of us, and we'll have some good discussions, I think. So the first question we have is, do you think there's any feasibility for federalization of Europe as a country, as a counter to dependence on US for economic defense reasons?
Is it? Fuck, that's a good question. Yeah.
Bit of a softball to start it off.
Yeah. So I can only assume that's aimed at me, right? Yeah.
Comedians definitely comedians, right?
Yeah. Do you think there's any feasibility for federalization of Europe, probably means the European Union, as a counter to dependence on US for economic and defensive reasons?
Okay. Right. Okay. Simple question. Sort of. No, genuinely sort of, in the sense that, like, if you get a second Trump presidency and you have an America that's totally unreliable, you will see more European defense cooperation. You'll see a lot more of that. You're seeing it already in terms of bulk ammunition purchases. Is that going to lead to a full United States of Europe? No. Like, the political basis isn't there for that, but you'll see a lot more coordination in terms of defense policy, foreign policy, and a lot more pressure on countries like Ireland to get on board for sure. But it doesn't mean a mirror image of the United States of Europe.
There's no fucking way I'm going to be under England.
But they're not in.
Fight another independence war against that day.
but England's not in the EU anymore, so you got, you know.
Oh, I'm okay with it. Anyway.
God,
or the French, fuck them too.
Hey now. I just want to point out before I get to the rest of the question, someone's put a gummy rats into the... And I don't know if this is supposed to be a statement, but I'm just going to assume the rat is a statement. Let's move on with the next questions. I love this because that was so in-depth. The next question might be like, do you prefer cats or dogs? That's how this usually goes. Is the USA truly a democracy?
Yeah, in a technical sense, right? I mean, representative democracy, sure.
Only since 1965. With the Voting Rights Act.
Yeah.
So the American South is not a democracy till 65. Yeah, it wasn't a democracy till 65. And with the Roberts Supreme Court trying to disenfranchise voters, like, you could give it a short window in terms of the Shelby County decision 2012. So it is, but it's a rickety one. Is that kind of sort of...
That makes sense. Yeah. It's not a very solid one.
No, yeah, because compared to...
Wait, I thought you sound like Trump. What happened?
Oh no, that's the schizophrenia. That was one of my personalities. Now I'm playing a comedian who thinks he's funny. No, no, but, like, do you know the way, like, our system is like... What the fuck was that? Was that me?
No, just keep going. That's he's getting fired.
Well, that sucks. I'm sorry to get you fired. You're fired. Get out of here, you little... What a disgraceful man. Wow, look at him over there. You can't even see him. That's how bad he is. I can't even remember what the fuck my original point was, to be honest.
You were about to tell us if you prefer cats or dogs, actually.
I'm much more of a dog person, personally. Anyway, go on. We'll move on.
Perfect. That was the best answer we ever had. I think David Fitz. I'm just gonna say David F. Okay, to make it simple. David F, David S, and David H. David F. David 1, David 2, and David 3.
Why is David 1 closer to you?
Because it's the order of my respect for them. So David 1, who in your opinion is the best American president in history?
Are you working? No. What is? Oh, great. Lincoln. Actually, no, Lincoln or FDR. I haven't decided.
Oh, good. That's interesting. And why exactly would it be Lincoln?
Lincoln, you have emancipation of slaves. You have the victory in the Civil War.
The biscuits, Lincoln brings.
That's a fair point, yeah. Apart from the biscuits, I think he
Savage fucking hat.
I think the second you have Second American Revolution with Lincoln, and FDR, like the New Deal is important, and winning World War II is kind of a big deal as well.
Yeah. Also very interesting. Very interesting to me. He was the first and probably the only president I could ever know of who was openly dealing with depression as well. Isn't that right? Yeah, I find that very fascinating that he achieved so much, even though he was struggling with such a detrimental mental illness. That is absolutely fantastic. Do you have anything to say?
Dave Savage, who do you think is the best president ever?
I think the greatest president ever was Nixon. Because he was just a we named Gate because of him, Watergate. So now everything, even though it was named after the Watergate Hotel, which people know that, but now anytime even someone trips over, it's like he tripped over a stool. That's Stoolgate. So everything has become Gate. So
Front gate.
For that alone, I think, Nixon.
If Donald and Kamala were animals, what animals would they be?
I heard she's a tiger in the bit. No, I'm not.
Donald would be an orange Uton.
Did any of you see Jesse Waters' comments about Kamala Harris actually on Fox News? Did you see that? That was disgusting. It was something like this guy now, Jesse Waters. You know who Jesse Waters is, right? So he has a show called The Five on Fox News, right? Big panel show on Fox, whatever. So he literally made a point where he's like, "How could we have this woman in the Situation Room with all these CIA agents, and they're just going to have their way with her?" He actually said that on live TV. And even the other guys on Fox are like, "What the fuck? He can't say that, can he?" Do you know what I mean? It's horrible.
I don't think there's any place with more sexual tension than the Pentagon Situation Room.
That is such a sexy scenario, let's be honest.
There's so many walls in those rooms. There's 5 of them. Like this room, I'm fucking feeling it in this room.
Any more? What animal would Trump be? Is there any opinions on this?
Can I?
You can grab the mic as well. You don't need to.
Okay, I think Donald Trump would be a koala. Because koalas actually look so harmless. But have you ever actually heard what a koala sounds like? No. It's actually
they're eating the dogs.
I can't. It's actually one of the most horrifying things I've ever heard in my fucking life. And as well as that, I got a fucking bone to pick with koalas. Do you know what? Maybe I'm doing a disservice to Trump somehow because fuck koalas. Sorry, this is important. Hey, look. You had your fucking way talking about Gaza and Ukraine. It's time to talk about real shit. So koalas. First off, I'm pretty sure somebody can pick me up on this if there's like a biologist and an animal.
No, this is all you, man.
Okay, so I'm pretty sure koalas' brains are literally smooth. Like they literally don't have wrinkles in their brains. And for those of you who don't understand why that's such a big thing, is like the reason our brains have wrinkles is because that allows us to basically have more brain. So koalas are just fucking dumb, like really fucking dumb. And here's, I will now illustrate how dumb they are. What do koalas eat? Does anyone know?
Bamboo.
We got a smooth brain.
Yeah, I have no wrinkles either.
So, eucalyptus. Now, here's a curious thing. If you put like a plate of eucalyptus leaves, and keep in mind, they're eating the leaves, they're not eating the fucking sticks. If you put the leaves like on a plate in front of them. Terrible. But if you put like a plate of leaves in front of them, they don't recognize it as food because it's not on a stick. And so they won't eat it. And I don't know if anyone knows this as well, but like if you eat eucalyptus, it'll fucking kill you. If you eat enough of it, it's not safe for like consumption. So they slowly kill themselves just by eating only eucalyptus. What fucking? And they all have chlamydia as well. I'm not actually joking. No, this sounds like a bad. Anyway, Trump would be a koala. That's what it is. That's my fucking. I'm putting the mic down.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said.
Look, in defense of people with chlamydia.
Is that where your mind went? Because my mind just went Koala Harris.
Fuck, I was going to say it.
that's so good.
That's my next line. Fuck.
Sorry.
I'm going to move on from this because we spend enough time on koalas.
I'll come back to it later. I swear.
No, you won't.
No.
When you do your music, you can spend 5 minutes. Would you ever, and here's a question to everybody, and I want you to answer all of this, a yes or no, would you ever move to the United States?
Absolutely.
100%.
100%. Yeah.
Been there, done that.
Yeah. Give him the mic, Dave, don't hog it.
Yeah, been there, done that.
Oh, you've been there. Would you go again?
Oh yeah, in a heartbeat.
Yeah. I just feel like the correct upbringing for a child is to be afraid of school shootings. So
Wow.
Yeah, we didn't.
just gotta sit in that silence.
My answer is no. I actually went to the States. Fucking chill it. Oh my god. I'd never actually left. I'd never actually left like Europe before March of this year, and I went to America and I went to New York, and I don't know. I spent a lot of time kind of looking at the States and like looking at all the politics and like people fight so incredibly hard for their sense of patriotism in America, and they're like love their country, and it's like such a place that's proud to be what it is. And then you get there and you look around and you're like, and it's just like, okay.
You know what? You should move to America. You should move to Australia because they have koalas. And
I can get to fucking work.
So one of your things is that you think like the Americans like fight so hard for their culture and all that kind of stuff, and as a Frenchman, you just don't understand that. That's a World War II surrender joke. Yeah.
I will say, I'm only half French.
There's a bit of good in everyone.
So that's historically inaccurate. I do
Yeah,
accept
so
that.
you have-
Sorry. Yeah.
So
They
you have-
fought very hard, actually.
so you're half lost. So the next one is actually directed question at you, David Savage.
Oh.
Yeah, David too. As a comedian, what in your opinion was Donald Trump's impact on stand-up comedy?
Well, do you know, so when you start out in stand-up comedy, and if you ask any comedian, right, so anyone who's has done comedy longer than you, right, if you're asking for them for advice, they tell you, get a good 5 minutes together, right? Because of Trump, I have a good 5 minutes. But no, but he is, like we were only talking about it earlier, myself, Dave here, like that he is very funny, and his comedic timing is amazing. It is, to be fair. He's a lot of other things, but he is quite funny. You know, like that famous one of Hillary where she's like, I am so glad that someone with Donald Trump's mentality is not in charge of the legal system in our country. And he just goes, because you'd be in jail. You know? I'm sorry, no matter who you are, that's amazing. Like, no matter what she said after that, she's just finished. I'm sorry. Like, you know?
I was listening to him on a podcast the other day, and he was talking about the first time he landed in Iran with his Air Force One, and he was talking about the pilots and all the military people, and every single soldier or pilot he brought up, he was like, he was so handsome, he was beautiful.
He does that a lot lately. He gets very like, you know, like, wow, this guy, you should see him. He's physically
I would suck him out.
And he's like, oh my God, like I remember one day we were out in the garden and he spilled a Diet Coke on him and it was you should see, Joe, you should see the abs on this guy. It's like he's writing 50 Shades of Grey or something.
Yeah.
It's fucking madness, man.
Here's the question, though. Do you think he'd make a good stand-up?
I think he'd be lethal, man.
I think he'd be so...
Well, he's already doing it. Like that's why
He's kind of doing stand-up. Yeah.
That's why people go to his rallies. They don't go because of his policies. They go because he says crazy shit.
That's true.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Plus, as an American president, he's already used to bombing.
Wow.
Ow. That's rough.
Yeah. I have a good question
punchline,
here.
fuck
This
you.
one just says, are they eating the dogs? Question mark. Or are they eating the cats? Question mark.
They're eating both of them, the dogs and the cats.
Over in
the geese.
Springfield. In Springfield, the Simpsons. Would the world be a better place if Trump won the last election? And they spelled election ELECKEN, which is brilliant. Whoever wrote that, I love you.
They didn't.
There you go.
They didn't. That's a T.
All right, look, we're both foreigners. I can make fun of them. But would the world be a better place if Trump won the last election? Is the question.
Oh, Dad, why did you put you guys off?
Oh, it's Dave 3's dad as well. That's even funnier.
Yeah, that explains a lot. Fuck.
Definitely not. No, no. Like you would have had the war in Ukraine would have been over more quickly, but that would have involved Russian tanks on Poland's borders. You would have had dissenting authoritarians in the US. The other thing people forget about it, and like it's bizarre, he keeps on threatening to invade Mexico. Genuinely, he does. He wants to bomb Mexico. I think he might have done it that time. If he says so much stuff, we forget that one. But that's an important one, like that they shouldn't bomb Mexico. So yeah, I don't think it would have been a good thing.
Anyone thinks it would be a good thing? It'd be funny if you picked up the mic and you.
I feel like 8 years of that would have driven the world into fucking overdrive. Do you know what I mean?
Would have been funny.
No, because like literally the news every single day, and this is an Irish person watching the news, whatever. The news every single day was Trump coming out saying something mad, like, you know, every single time, like the Democrats, they're awful, they're luring children into their gingerbread houses, all this stuff. Do you know what I mean? And like Joe Biden came in then, and this guy can't even fucking do press conferences. Like he just walks away and forgets where he is most of the time. Do you know what I mean? Just completely incoherent sentences like that, and he just doesn't know where he is. So it's fantastic. But it was very quiet, and that's what I liked about it. Was it was very quiet. Do you know? So I don't know. 8 years of Trump would have been very loud.
That's working.
That's
good.
working. It's working.
Yeah. It's working. Unlike immigrants. Do you think J.D. Vance will push Trump out as being incompetent with the 25th Amendment? 26, I don't know what number it is. One of the 20. Thank you. That's why you're here. With the 25th Amendment.
Probably not. Not in the first year. Vance is horribly ambitious. He's a horrible human being.
He's very scary, isn't he?
He's scary, man. He's scary. He's much scarier than Trump. He's not as funny as Trump.
Yeah, I agree. He's very scary.
But I don't think, not in the short term, I don't think he has the political juice to do it. He wants to. He's doing a heartbeat. And he's stabbing the back. But I just trying to think through the mechanics of it. I think unless Trump genuinely had a Joe Biden press conference moment or a Joe Biden debate moment where Trump actually, he nearly fell through bin lorry the other day, but you know, beyond that, you want to fairly, but we price in a lot of Trump's stupidity, don't we, right? But so if we go, you know, unless he has a serious public meltdown, I think Vance wouldn't try it. He wouldn't get very far.
Do you reckon it'd be, I mean, he's, J.D. Vance, as much as he's like a fucking nightmare, he's probably very aware of how kind of strong a figure Trump is, like in the mind of his voters.
Oh yeah, he is 100% because he used to oppose him, and then when Trump started endorsing him, he was like, "I love you, Daddy. Please endorse me more, Daddy."
But I could imagine he'd probably be more interested in, you know, getting whatever he kind of wants, but through the medium of Trump. And Trump, that kind of doesn't matter if he goes batshit fucking crazy, because he kind of already is. Doesn't really make any difference.
We're taping the mic. They're taping the mics. They're taping the cats. By the way, just before we move on, give a big round of applause to our sound engineer, Alicia, please. Absolutely coming in clutch. Oh my God. I do think as well, the thing that scares me about someone like Vance, and I'm saying this as someone, I don't really have any political gain in American politics at all, but something that scares me about someone like him is that I think people who lean very far right are less scary when they're a little bit insane and people know they're a bit insane. Like people look at Trump as someone who's a crazy person. If you listen to Vance for 5 minutes, he's very good at sounding like he's a normal everyday guy, and that's very scary. That's how they get into power. And that's why I think he is extremely terrifying, at least from my perspective.
More than 5 minutes. So
yeah.
There is that. Like, so, like one of the things we were talking about this earlier, and let me speculate in a good way here, right? Like, imagine Trump loses tomorrow, which is entirely possible.
Yeah.
I don't know that they have a talent like him out there.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know that J.D. Vance has got the juice in that sense.
No, of course not.
You know?
No.
So, like, there is that moment, like, okay, now that the comedian's gone, that political talent's gone, where do they go? Is it Vance? Maybe you're right, but I don't know. Like he's a creepy man.
Yeah, but I feel like a lot of people, especially who would vote that way, anyways, they're just looking at the optics. Really, And they're looking at someone who comes from a rural working class background, and they don't question that he says inhuman, insane shit, you know?
Is it true that he shags coaches, or is that made up?
Yes.
Have people heard that?
Yeah, it was a lie. Yeah.
What's that? Like, where did that come from? Because
They said
And how
it
can I
was
get
in
into
his
it?
book,
And how can I get a
basically.
coach? What?
They said it was in his book, but it just turned out to be just a random fucking lie.
In his book?
rumor
No,
kinda,
no,
yeah.
no.
Why would he write
don't
that?
do this. Don't do this. I want to believe that.
I will say, there's no way that we can prove that he hasn't fucked this cow.
That's my...
No?
Well,
I have a bit of a serious question, if you don't mind, for David.
Yeah,
It was kind
knock
of
in.
on the-
I love Dave always comes so prepared.
We were kind of talking earlier about maybe some of the differences between what it would have been like for Trump to have a second term, for example. During the last presidency under Biden, there was Afghanistan, the American forces pulled out after that. And just like looking at like Trump and like all of his experience with like Stormy Daniels or like grabbing by the pussy, doesn't strike me as a man with a very strong pull-out game. How do you think he would have done it differently?
Process that joke promo is good.
Yeah, now we all think about Trump pulling out.
He doesn't do it, not once.
No, I genuinely, I think Afghanistan would have been basically the same. That like there was an agreement that Trump signed that they were going to leave, and the way they left was shambolic. They were going to go. Like there's no doubt about it. The difference with Trump is he probably would have gone into war with someone else by accident. That's the difference. The Biden's foreign policy up until Gaza was relatively restrained, and then post Gaza, it's a whole other story.
Fair. I think that's a good answer. I want to jump in with another question because these people put two questions down. I think the other one deserves the attention. What is your opinion on Project 2025? And I like to say something for myself here, which is that when that first came out, I found it super terrifying. But I think the second Trump said that he distances himself from it, you kind of have that moment where like every time you bring it up as an attack, optically it kind of fails because he can just say everyone who wrote that is stupid. I don't agree with them, which is wrong. We all know he's lying about that, but I think that's being focused on a bit too much as an attack. I think it's not as effective as people think it is. So anyone want to jump in?
yeah.
Can you not fuck up?
I'm not fucking touching it. Wow, look at that. No. No, so when I first heard this, right, I couldn't find anything wrong with it. No, I couldn't. No, when I first heard about it, I read into it or whatever, right, and I saw this video of this talking notepad talking about it. It was great. Or else I was tripping on shrooms. I can't remember. It was something weird. But if Trump is coming out now and they're all throwing that at him and he's like, I have nothing to do with it, whatever. It's like... But does it not like where did it all come from? The Project 2025 thing, is that actually something that
It came from senior advisors of his staff,
Yeah.
so it is related to him, but it's not written by him. So he does have that out of just saying I don't agree with it, which we all know he does. But
Yeah, and what? Yeah, so that I have heard from people in America, right? People that are living there a long time. I have a lot of friends over there, stuff like that, and they say that progressively America has gone back about 20 years, even since Trump came in, which I think is true, But like, how can it get any worse?
yeah,
I don't know. Is Project 2025 a sequel to Project X, or what's the crack? Or...
It's just Trump and the boys getting fucked up at a house party. That's
oh my God! Look how much beer I drank. Oh, wow.
I did the most coke.
What's your take on Project 2025? Sorry, Dan. I did yours.
That's okay.
It's real. It's funny though because it's one of two plans. There's another one with the Heritage Foundation, if you actually read Project 2025, it's actually a mess. Like it disagrees with itself. Basically, what it is the Trump coalition came together, wrote a giant paper what they're going to do, didn't resolve their conflicts, but it's very real. Like it's absolutely what his administration wanted to do. But if you look at it genuinely, there's two or three things in there that actually contradict each other. So it's not like they're this brilliant blueprint. What they would have done is they would have brought it in, started doing it, an absolute balls of it, which is kind of what they did in the first administration. So like, it's real, the plans are real, but it's not the case that they were going to roll this out smoothly. They were going to roll this out and fight with each other.
Yeah.
But the stuff in it that Harris pointed out, like it's absolutely what they want to do. Yeah.
Yeah, but don't you feel like, because I think American politics is all about optics. That's how I look at it. It's become a whole show. And in an optic sense, if he just says, I didn't write it, I don't agree with it, 99% of his supporters would be like, yeah, that's that done. That's why I feel like as an attack, it kind of falls flat, you know? I agree with you, but I feel like as an attack, it kind of falls flat.
Yeah, just quickly, because others can campaign. I think, yeah, you're right. But I think if you look at it, what they did though in terms of the campaign, they hit it for about 3 weeks, then they dropped it.
Yeah.
So like, I think you're right, and I think the Harris campaign agrees with you because they were like, they did it, people were bored with it, now on to the next thing, you know?
Yeah.
And if you sit down and I don't know if you guys are watching TV in Pennsylvania, what the ads look like. I don't know if Project 2025 is being aired anymore the way it was back in August. Like, the campaigns do, like, we kind of live in the world of like social media, but what the campaigns are doing is much more focused in the swing states.
Yeah, that's very true. Well, is it still in the ads? We have you here to ask. Good answer.
Nice.
Thank God. Yeah, fair.
You say swing states as well. Like, how did we get to the point where like swing states tend to decide these giant elections? You know, and I don't even entirely understand what swing state is. Does it mean that they're like all like sharing their wives?
They're really into ballroom. They're really
Why are we
into
giving
ballroom.
so much power to these swingers?
They're really into ballroom jazz, is what it means.
They sit down and they say, "Push me." If you don't push me harder, I'm going to vote for Trump.
That is 100% of the swing jokes. Microphone down. But genuinely, how did we get to the point of basically where you have places like Pennsylvania and like all of these different places deciding these huge elections?
Yeah, so it's two things. One is the Electoral College is designed this way. So it's designed so that like states vote on a state basis. And in a situation where you've got massive political polarization, it just so happens that these are the states that are likely to flip. Now, they're not always the same, right? So, like, back in 2000 and 2004, it was Ohio and Florida were the swing states, and now Florida's deep red, Ohio's deep red. So they're not always the same, but it tends to be the case that, like, you just focus on the states that might flip. And then you get Texas being ignored, California being ignored, New York being ignored. It's a crazy way to do government and crazy way to do politics, for sure, you know? It's mad. And this is my long-term pessimism about the US is their constitution is so messed up, I don't know how they get past that, actually.
Americans, how do you feel about your constitution being mocked? Perfect.
I'm going to move on with a question here because we have only 10 minutes left. I want to get through these. From your perspective, how can the US influence possibly finish the Russian war in Ukraine, or all the support and influence will wane soon? Can they end the war, or will the support end after this election?
It's a really good question. So, okay, two scenarios. One, Trump wins, and then the war ends with a Russian victory. That's probable.
One call to Putin.
Basically, right. He'll make a good deal. Yeah. So imagine Harris wins. What'll happen basically is the war, I think, has about another 6 to 9 months to run easily. And it's not just down to the US. Like, if the US turns off the weapons supplies, yeah, it's not looking good. The Ukrainians are running out of men. The Russians are running out of money. And it's a question who runs out first. I think Harris will support the Ukrainians the way Biden's done, but the issue is the Ukrainians. Right now, the Russians are have a big offensive around Kupiansk, and they're pushing the Ukrainians back. So, like, it's a fairly bleak time to be Ukrainian, bluntly. And I mean, absent totally opening the spigot, which they should have done in some ways months ago with long-range strikes and stuff, I think it's going to be fairly grim for the Ukrainians. It doesn't mean they're going to get overrun. It just means the peace negotiations will be fairly tough.
Do you think that under Harris there is a chance to end it? Because under Trump, we know there probably is only the Russian victory. Do you think there is a chance under Harris?
Yeah, so I think it will end, my guess is sometime in 2025. On some level, there'll be some level of agreement. And I don't think under Harris will end in total Russian victory. I think it'll be a nasty compromise. It'll be ugly. It'll be frozen conflict. With Harris there, though, I think the Ukrainians will get a better deal. I don't know that the deal will hold forever, because, like, the problem with the Ukrainian war is Putin wants all of Ukraine and won't stop. Yeah. You know, and I think, like, that's a long-term challenge that won't go away with Harris or without. But yeah, with her, I think there will be some sort of peace agreement. What it would look like, I'm not entirely sure. But I don't see the war going on for like 4 years. You know,
I might chip in there. There was a lot of speculation about, you know, in the odds that Trump wins the election and that this results in a Russian kind of victory in which Russia essentially swallows all of Ukraine. It's kind of the same point that was made after the crisis in Crimea, of which people said, we'll give him Crimea and then he won't take any more, he'll be fine. And kind of reminiscent of, I don't know, someone else who said they'd
I don't know what you're talking about.
But as in, do you think
It's not like the French trip would take over other countries, is it? That's never happened.
Do you think that if Trump wins and if Putin successfully invades and captures the entirety of Ukraine, do you believe that where would you say the next point is? Because I think it's kind of clear at this point that there would be a next point.
So two things. I'm not entirely convinced that he would get all Ukraine immediately, right? I think that actually, to be fair to the Ukrainians, that they have a lot of abilities. It's not like they'll roll to Odessa overnight. But imagine that does happen. You look to the Baltic states immediately. That's basically where it is, because you got the Russian, the Kaliningrad Oblast there. That's where the next point is for sure. Yeah.
Can I ask, why do you think that Donald Trump is quite so pro Putin? Like, because like there's a lot of
Listen to him.
Listen to him, sure. There's a lot of like kind of stuff came out with the last election that they was in their pocket. Maybe he had like some compromising information from it on him, perhaps. And there was that whole thing of like Russian honey traps and stuff. And actually, I'm going out with a Ukrainian at the moment, and they were giving me some kind of inside dirt on what some of them think about it. And one of the kind of working theories is that there's a video of Trump and
The golden shower?
I heard it was actually even worse, right? So
Oh my God, let's not get into the details.
Yeah. So I'll get into the details, right? So apparently there's some young Russian lady, and she's like defecating into a biscuit tin, which is why he loves Putin.
For Americans especially, right? It must be strange because like all the narrative for so many years was that Russia are the bad guys, like it's America versus Russia, Cold War, all that thing. Now do you have so many Republicans and so many Americans being like, no, Russia are actually good people, they're good, like that famous Tucker Carlson thing. Did you see where he was in Russia and he had the trolley? And he's like, oh yeah, if you put a coin into the trolley, you can like
You can do a better Tucker Carlson than that, can you?
I can't remember what he sounds like. But I don't have time for this. But he literally takes the trolley out and he's trying to show like, oh look how great Russia is. I was like, you can do that in fucking Aldi in it's not a utopia, like, you know.
But
do you know what I mean?
that's a great question, though. What has kind of changed with the Republican Party, as you were kind of saying earlier, where they were, known to be anti-Russian from post-Cold War, et cetera, et cetera. What has changed so much?
No, I'm still figuring it out, to be honest with you. I think one is like Trump himself, like where he goes, people follows. That has to be part of it. Is him, his personality, and he likes dictators, and Putin, a couple of years ago when he wasn't wearing a shirt, like, he was on horseback.
So handsome.
But I genuinely caught me by surprise. But I think, if you look at Republican politics, Russia has been a leader in anti-LGBT policies. It's deeply conservative. Like, it's not the Communist Party anymore, right? And I wonder, is that part of it? But to be honest, I'm still figuring it out, because there's these underground connections there that I'm not entirely clear on myself ideologically, who they're reading, how they're filtering this through, because it's a bizarre thing.
God, that's very fascinating. I kind of have to move on from this question now, because we have like 15 more to get through, and I wanna make sure everyone's question is on it. The next thing is, we do this at Cork and Dust a few times. We take actual headlines from local newspapers, and we leave a little blank slate in the middle, and we ask our guests to fill out the blank. It makes a very fun game sometimes. And this one I think is a very good one. Van seized as Gardaí nab blank with no insurance in Cork City.
Homeless man.
No insurance.
No insurance. There's no insurance, and they're sitting out there, and it's freezing. And who's going to pay for them? You take that.
I got nothing. I'm sorry.
Nothing? You got any suggestions?
Man on wheelies.
Man on wheelies?
Yeah, like the Heelys.
Well, the actual answer is funnier than any of yours. Gardaí nab fake taxi without insurance. Lethal. The only thing being written there wasn't the taxi. So, Stefan, this is one for you. Do you see parallels between the heightened political tensions in the US election and French politics now?
I need to clear something up right now. I don't know if you can tell by the way that I sound, Well,
Just bullshit
I was-
the answer, dude. It doesn't matter.
so, I think no. Okay. My dad is French, but I was born and raised in Ireland. I'm a fluent Gaeilgeoir. I actually don't even fucking speak French. I'm like so, what's the word? Unqualified to talk about.
The answer is yes. Okay, from from a scale of 1 to 10, how good, bad was Kamala Harris's campaign and why? I think this is for you.
I'd give it about a 7. She started from scratch in late June, early July, came out of nowhere. First off, managed to get the nomination bloodlessly, which is impressive.
Bloodlessly.
Well, apart from Joe Biden. But, you know, then she pulls together a campaign very quickly. She pulls up in the polls. She destroys Trump in the debate. The one thing she doesn't do is reach out to the left on Gaza. That was like, I think something that's why I'm marking her down. And like, look, we're in speculation here. She's now, I would say, probably the favourite to win. Tell me I'm wrong on Wednesday morning. I won't be getting out of bed at that
It's all
point.
right. This is getting recorded, so if you're wrong, we all know.
Cut that, please. But no, I think genuinely, in fairness to her, given the time scale she had, there's things I would have done differently. Like, I'm not, like, politically, I wouldn't be, like, I'm not totally aligned with her. But just from sheer mechanics of politics, you have to impress someone just out of nowhere putting the campaign together.
Yeah.
Can you rate Trump's out of 10 as well? Just out of curiosity.
11.
They're way too online. They're strangely online.
Yeah.
If I don't spend time paying attention today to Fox News or JD Vance's Twitter feed, their big thing today is about a squirrel.
A squirrel?
Yeah. So
That's nuts.
What do you mean squirrels? What about
no,
squirrels?
literally a squirrel.
They're eating the squirrels.
There was a squirrel called Peanut. This is true. He belonged to an OnlyFans.
a vote for Peanut.
He belonged to an OnlyFans influencer who had a very popular Instagram account, and the Peanut was very popular on this account. And the Peanut bit a cop and had to
Peanut.
he had to be put down because they needed to test him for rabies.
Whoa.
So,
That's a big political issue in America.
But apparently this is the Democrats' fault.
Is this why?
I'm not joking. JD Vance is talking.
She's Googling it right now. Yeah.
Is this why those police officers were shooting at fucking acorns like a few months
This is
ago? Like, they had a curve?
hilarious. How good is
Is this a revenge play?
I love getting pissed on and then ejaculating. I'm all for peanuts.
Honestly, I was not expecting that to take that turn after you said OnlyFans and nut in the same sentence.
This was a good one. What would Trump's first tweet be after he won or lost the election?
Get fucking owned.
Wait, I think we should give this to Dave. I think.
Holy shit, I really didn't think I was going to win this time. Wow.
And what have you lost? Sorry, what have you lost?
I'm not going to lose, Dan. It can't happen. It can't. Actually, I saw him on Rogan, and he's just like, he keeps referring to Kamala Harris as a low IQ person. Is that proper English, by the way? She's a low IQ person. The man can't even put a fucking sentence together. It's the vocabulary of a 3-year-old. How the fuck did you elect him in the first place? Sorry. Anyway.
But do you have a prediction on the first tweet?
He'll be on Truth Social. He doesn't do Twitter. Unless
That's true, yeah.
He wants Elon Musk to pay more money, so he'll do some weird Truth Social. If he loses, he'll tweet about insurrection like that. I mean, that's all caps.
I actually want to jump in. Has anybody else seen this thing of Elon Musk showing up to Trump rallies and jumping? Have you seen this? Do you know? He's trying to do the X. This is why he's jumping like that. He's trying to do the X shape. Holy shit! What the fuck is this guy?
Nah, it's giving neurodivergent people a bad name, man. It's terrible. It's terrible. Who's more iconic, Kamala Harris or Donald Trump? Only in, it says underneath, only in terms of fashion and hair, not politics.
So I want to chip in on this because, like, Trump is hilariously like so cunty.
Yeah, no, he's a sassy bitch. He's
such
a
a
sassy
diva.
bitch.
Do you guys remember when he was like, that guy's bad, he needs a personality transplant? It's like so fucking sassy. He's such a fucking diva.
I think we're talking iconic here. I think it'll have to be Trump. Like, I'm sorry, I would never vote for him. But if we're talking about who's got the cuntiest fucking serves, it's clearly Donald. Like,
He's got the fucking. He's got the wig. You know. Going.
Yeah, I know. Who would do a better drag act, Donald or Kamala? Obviously Donald.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
I'm fabulous. Look at me. I'm so fabulous. Other drag stars, have you seen Panty Bliss? No joke. What a joke.
What would Donald Trump's drag name be?
Oh, that's a tough one.
Donald Trump, obviously.
Trumpalina, I don't know.
What about Noma migrants or something?
What'd you say?
Someone said once, I need a recap.
I got one.
That's actually legal.
Yeah, that's very good.
I got one as well. Clodagh Border.
I have a thing for powerful women, so I think Trump as a woman is, wow, that's hot. Almost as sexy as Margaret Thatcher. No, go on. Someone
I have the biggest boobs.
Someone else talk.
Nobody's got bigger boobs
I
than
think
me.
this is
Nobody's got bigger tits than me.
no one's slaying harder. I think this is a good one. Why is there, and I like your answer on this, why is there such a sturdy sense of loyalty when it comes to family politics? Why are people still voting for the same parties that their grandparents vote for with such reverent loyalty?
Because he fixed the road. Simple as. No, but I come from a Fianna Fáil family, right? Now, like that's the big political party in Ireland. I'm not a Fianna Fáiler, I don't really care. But my grandparents now, like my grandfather in particular, would have been very like, no, you'll vote Fianna Fáil. Do you know what I mean? Like that, like it would have been. But it always was a disgrace if you were to vote another way. Do you know, that kind of way? Like, so it is. I understand that thing, you know, like that whole thing of.
Do you have, especially you? Do you have anything in terms of American politics that maybe relates to this?
Like in a weird way, like I'm not sure I buy the premise of the question. I think now what's interesting is that they're not necessarily voting the way their grandparents did, and that's surprising people. Like you have all these guys, you know, who grew up in union households, who like the union vote is now like drifting towards Trump in some way. You have people who are college educated, whose grandparents guarantee you voted for Ronald Reagan, who are now voting for the Democrats. There is a transition there, and it's what's making the election really hard to predict is we're in the middle of this kind of weird shift within the party system. So in a strange way, I don't know that they're actually following their grandparents anymore, and that's what we're trying to figure out at the moment.
Would you think the opposite is true? Because it's kind of like a cultural touchstone that like you've lost kind of contact with like older parents and that kind of stuff because they've gone MAGA, you know?
Yeah, that's absolutely. And you see all these stories, people, you know, so-and-so lost $1 million because they were like donating to Trump on Facebook or something like. So yeah, I think there's I don't know that you have that sort of loyalty anymore. Even like the, like we'll see how it works out tomorrow, but even the African-American vote is changing in a way, right? Because these are people who are down the line Democrats. They voted, you know, for the party civil rights for a long time. And then we're seeing black men, we'll see how it works out. But black men, some of them are now saying, oh, I'm not sure about this anymore. So there's a shift there that's really interesting.
That's an interesting thing to say, actually, because the next question is about exactly that, about why there's such a huge uptake in young voters for Donald Trump. What in your opinion is the reason behind that happening?
Look, it's one of these things where we'll figure out more Wednesday morning, Thursday when we see the exit polls and we look into the data. Because in some ways, it's hard to know, is that true? Like, do we know, is it true? Because the opinion polling is making messed up the cycle. It's young men. It's not young people. It's young men.
Young men especially. Do you think it's because the campaign is so online as well? Because he's been on Rogan, he's been on all the big podcasts. Do you think that's...
Yeah, and he's going to MMA fights, right? You know, so I think they've really focused young men
because he loves looking at muscular men. He's
from the he's a WWE guy, right? He's a huge fan of that. Yeah, so I think they've focused on that fairly particularly. But it's not just an American thing. I think young men in the West in general are becoming more conservative. Like that's certainly true in France, as you know all about, of course. So I think it's an interesting generational thing that's happening. Why? I'm not entirely sure, to be honest with you. Is it to do with how weirdly macho the Trump campaign is? I'm not entirely sure. But you're right. It's like he's good at MMA. He's good at going on Rogan. He's good at going on a million podcasts. It's going to focus.
Would it perhaps be an aspect of like anti-establishment sentiment in like young people in general? Because like, and I don't mean this as a compliment, the Republicans have kind of taken this air of like, kind of like almost like a punk rock kind of thing, you know what I mean? They're kind of like the protest almost against the Democratic establishment.
That shit is so lame.
It's so fucking lame. I can't so fucking with you, like, but
claim to
you know,
punk
like
rock
18-year-olds are fucking edgelords at the end of the day at times. Like,
there's nothing edgy about being against gay marriage. Like that's the least edgy thing you could be.
But yeah, is there something edged towards? Maybe, yeah, quite possibly. And people getting radicalized on 4chan or whatever like that. Maybe, yeah. But again, we'll see how many of them actually did get radicalized and voted on Wednesday. You know, we'll have to see then.
I think that's the final point. Is like how many of them are actually going to go vote. You know, I do want to have one more news story to complete. This is a good one. Irish politician shares bizarre Taylor Swift deepfake of blank.
Campaign video.
Yeah, did you see it?
Yeah, I saw that one. Yeah, there was Michael Healy-Rae from Kerry. So you know Michael Healy-Rae from Kerry? Do you know him? He's like this fucking... He's basically a fella that was raised from the fucking turf in the ground, like, you know? But they love him. They love him.
He's our Trump.
He's our Trump, essentially, right?
He's like, I think the American equivalent would be like if you saw like a cowboy taken straight out of the fucking 1800s and literally just put him into modern day. It's like, this man is a farmer from the fucking 1750s. That's so crazy.
Have you seen the video though? Where he did a deepfake of Taylor Swift. I was like, I would vote for Michael Healy-Rae because he fixed the roads.
So I saw
It's
the
pretty
thing.
funny now.
You know, it's always funny when you see politicians on like social media, and like the older they are, the more bizarre it is.
Yeah.
And it's strange because then it kind of fish hooks with like Trump, because Trump is like really actually quite old, but he's kind of fish hooked back into being like really good at social media, and he's like set up his own fucking social thing where he can say whatever the fuck he wants, and it's all very strange. But like the Healy-Raes got onto social media, and I think there's the younger one. Is that Michael?
Danny.
The younger one is Danny. Yeah. He's got a TikTok, and his like first video, one of his first videos up on his TikTok was him. You know, there's all the usual stuff of him like saying stuff in the doll and stuff like that, and only God can control the weather. There's no such thing as global warming and all this stuff. And there's a video of him like showing off his office, and he goes to like this like glass cabinet, and there's two things of note in the cabinet. There's like a lump of turf that he takes out to like smell every day, and I think like a photo of Michael Collins. Like, and he's like, just remember what we're doing it for.
That's Michael Healy. I've watched that video, and it's even better because he picks out the lump of turf. He goes, every morning I'll give this a kiss.
I grew up around fellas like Michael Healy-Rae, and if you drank anything other than stout, you were gay. Is what it's supposed to be like. That's the kind of fella you're dealing with here.
No half pints.
And then more half pint, and if you don't have a drop of paddy, I'd know.
Can we get a bit of Michael Healy-Rae giving out about Taylor Swift's ex-boyfriends, please?
But so they were an awful shower. Harry Styles there, and he in One Direction, and so he's only codding us all. So I wrote a song about him. I knew you were a blackguard when you came in.
All right, we have 2 questions left, and we'll get through them real quick. A popular talking point seems to be the drawing parallels between the fall of the Roman Republic and the current trajectory of the U.S. hegemony. Do you think there's any historical basis to this? I think this is for you.
Yes and no. One, like, look, empires rise and fall. Like, that's just what they do historically. The US has been on top for about 100 years. That's not a bad run. But it's also like very different, and it's a giant globalized economy, you know. And I think, like, I'm a historian, I love to say, look, this happened before, but we have to understand like that things are also different now. Do you know what I mean? So is it the fall of Rome, apart from the big columns in Washington? I don't quite see it in the same way. It's in decline. It'll look different.
Yeah, and that's always, I always hate that talking point as well, because every time people talk about the Roman Republic falling, they focus on like the worst fucking shit. They go like, oh, the Roman Empire fell because all got too woke and gay. And it's like, no, that's not why that happened. That's complete bullshit.
Rome is one of my, like, Roman history is one of my passions. And
you fucking stereotype you.
Fuck you. But it pissed me off so much, like, when they give out about the fall of Rome, and part of the reason was because they're becoming sexually fucking ambiguous and doing this and becoming men and women and all this. Fuck off. They were like the most Christian when they fell. Like, it's the exact opposite of true. Like.
100%. And it might have been because people in all the auxiliary cities and states were fucking starving because I couldn't deliver food to them.
You know what they say about them? They say the Greeks invented the orgy, and that the Romans had the idea of inviting women to them. So.
And then Trump had the idea of getting pissed on. There we go. I'll have the last question, and then we'll wrap this up, and we'll go into some amazing music by our very talented French musician, Stefan, over here. Do you think the US has leveraged their natural resource wealth into creating an empire of culture and extreme reliance of Western Europe defense in particular? It seems to be that Europe is heavily dependent on NATO involvement.
Yeah,
He gets it up.
Definitely. I mean, the US has been extraordinary in like the way it's been able to work with Europe over the past 70 years. There's a really good book by Victoria Grazzi on this about American culture in Europe and how successful it was. And I would say, in terms of like Americans in Europe, it's been a good deal for both sides in a weird way. I'm not sure it's been a good deal for the rest of the world, but like America gets to be the hegemon over the other world economic power. Europe gets to basically spend not a whole pile on defence, and then the Americans do it for them. So it's been for those two parties. It's not been the worst deal, but certainly, yeah, the Americans done since the 1940s an amazing job on that.
Yeah. So, do you think there's any way to actual independence from America, or do you think that's not feasible in the near future?
Is European independence?
Yeah.
Like I was saying earlier, partly you're going to see much more European defence spending, but beyond that, like that relation, the two economies are so interlinked, they're going to be stuck in each other for a long time.
All right. Before we wrap this up, do you have anything else you want to say, Dave? I'm gonna.
So much, but you're so interesting. We could go on for days. So I'll
just
leave this
one
as
thing
is.
I want before we wrap this up, and I think we all wanted. I just would love to hear Donald J. Trump to give us a little review of how we think Cork and Dress win tonight.
I thought it was a great show, very informative, a lot of lies told, but that's what happens. When you go to the polls tomorrow, do not vote for the low IQ person. Laughing Kamala. What a weird insult, by the way. Like, oh my gosh, she's laughing. What a horrible bitch. Vote for change, vote for Trump. Don't vote for Trump, that's terrible.